Well, this should be fun. Finally, we're going to get this little group of meddling bastards and slit their throats. I ain't sure why it's taken so long to get the go-ahead, but, well, it finally has. Again, not sure why we didn't do this already, but, well, the boss is the one with all the brains. She makes all the plans. I just stab and carry what she tells me to. Yeah, the twitchy witch fella, he's a right creepy lad and he's mostly useless, but Dagmarina, she's alright, I guess, good with an axe and blade. I hope we don't make a bad team at all. The boss's pawns, that's what she calls us. Frankly, as long as I get paid, I don't care what she calls us. Where was I again? Oh yeah, lots of stuff going on recently. Been real busy. But then we've had these weird folk poking about in our affairs. I ain't sure if they're the Watch or just some random do-gooders. Well, apparently, taking them out right away was risky. Don't know why. But finally, it seems they've crossed a line or pissed off our actual employers, and now we're sitting down here in the dark waiting for them to turn up. A nice ambush. Boss isn't totally sure they'll actually come, but I reckon they will. Confident folk like that, they always make mistakes in the end. Little do they know, we've got some reinforcements waiting for them. The folk we're actually working for sent some boys down. Can't say I actually care for them. All that, chaos stuff. It's not what I'm here for. But they pay well. And once we stab and kill these little meddlers coming for us, well, boss says the next payday is going to be the biggest one ever. I can't wait. This is Red Moon Roleplaying. And so the second round of combat begins. Heinrich, for a moment you try and get the edge in with your rapier. After all, you are fast with that, but she just counters. She has a similar rapier, and she does then make her attack, but not against you, but against you, Kruger. She remarks, you really do need to take at least one scratch.
And I'm just trying to dodge and bob and weave as much as I can, just trying to stay out of her way. I'm just trying my best to get a shot in with the crossbow, but I need more distance for that. So I'm just kind of snarling at her and trying to get out of her way.
And you do so. You have a moment of panic where suddenly she backs you against the wall as your little dance continues around the room, and she lunges forward, but then you hear the room has a clock, and it chimes. And in that moment, you notice her expression, so focused on both of you, briefly actually for some reason does look at this clock. And then that is when Erica finally attempts to drag on her clothing. She doesn't bite her properly, but she does kind of lunge forward and growl and try and drag her down, and it does completely throw her off balance, and her attack misses you entirely. And so, Kruger, your turn. You think you can now actually disengage due to this distraction.
Then that's exactly what I will do. Is it possible for me to, well, basically put the crossbow to her head and show to her that it's over? She's gonna die if she tries anything here, or do I have to, like, actually take her down via force?
I'd like you to make an intimidation check. Give yourself a +10.
18 under 37 then. That's 2 degrees of success.
Tell us then how you do this. She still is in melee combat with Heinrich, but again, she has been thrown off by Erica. How do you suddenly intimidate her?
I think I have been moving around so quickly and dodging and sort of dancing around her. I'm guessing she must have lost track of me then when that clock chimed. So all of a sudden, she will find herself with the crossbow directed straight at the back of her head at point blank distance. And I suppose I'll just say, doesn't have to end now. But it will if you move.
Heinrich, what do you do? It seems, despite her initial skill level, that Erica finally does come in and help you out, and suddenly your friend Kruger has a crossbow aimed directly at this person's head. What do you do?
I can't, end the fight now. There might be answers at stake. But if a crossbow at the head is not enough to persuade someone, perhaps a crossbow and a pistol will help.
And so the woman does freeze and drop her weapon and frown a little. And Siegfried, what do you do? It seems Erica finally is pulling on this woman's cloak, but when she seems to stop, Erica kind of gives you a bit of a look. Will you command Erica to back off or go for the throat?
Oh, I don't see the need to go for the throat. I'm happy for her to go for the legs. Go for the fleshy meat on her calves. Make it impossible for her to stand. Go for the legs!
And she gives a bite, but only a little one. Again, you're not entirely sure what's going on. Why is Erica doing this? Must be a reason. She's obeying your commands, but she seems hesitant. As if... Well, if you didn't know any better, it's almost as if she likes this person. But she does nip at the leg, and the woman does go down and sigh. 4 against 1 is hardly fair, is it?
It's not. And you fought valiantly.
I did, but not good enough. A shame. Not a single scratch on you. You really are good at dodging, Kruger.
Thank you. I'll take that as a compliment. Now then, to reveal who your master is and spill the beans about the grand plan that you and those that you work for are trying to make happen in this fair city of ours.
Ah, yes. Time to reveal it all. Again, she looks at that clock. Although, I won't be revealing it immediately, but I'm sure you'll get it out of me eventually. And she smiles and does something with her jaw. You hear a sort of click sound. What do you do?
She's used some kind of suicide pill, right? That's something that exists in this world. Is it something that Kruger would know about?
Roll an intelligence roll.
Well, that's an 89. I'll have to use a point of fortune, because I don't want her to die before she reveals something. That's an 85. No better.
I mean, it's odd, but you don't know what she's doing, no. Whatever it is, something then seems to start foaming around her mouth, and she starts smiling. What do you do, Heinrich Siegfrieda? It seems you've defeated the foe, but now they've done something with their jaw, and now there's like this weird pink stuff starting to froth out of their mouth.
If only we had a doctor.
Yes, if only. Back, Erica, back. I will walk over very quickly. By this point, if she's already frothing at the mouth, her lungs are probably already corroding under whatever it is she's swallowed. But all I can really try and do is clear her airway, get some water from a flask, pour it in, try and clear the blockage, remove any trace of if there's any kind of capsule or pill or anything like that in her mouth.
Indeed, and you don't need to roll because it's extremely easy. You immediately go over, you get the water, you begin washing her mouth out, and you check her pulse, and her pulse is fine, and her eyes are dilating a little, actually, which is a bit unusual. And then she just starts laughing. And, yeah, no, her vital signs seem fine. Her eyes are a bit dilated, but you think you've washed it out in time, whatever it was. It doesn't seem to be killing her. Excellent.
Right, let's restrain her, boys.
I'll do just that. She's very capable, so I'll try to really make sure that I don't underestimate her.
You do. You begin going and getting some rope that you find in a corner of the room, and you tie it to a chair, and she's just laughing and laughing. Constantly laughing. Quite irritating, actually. And then finally you hear the door barge down, and into the room come your allies, Lady Emmanuel Nacht and Barak. There's a bit of blood splatter on Lady Emmanuel, but otherwise they seem fine. And in she comes. Ah, wonderful. Sorry about the little deception, you three. Is this the one? Excellent. What have we found out? Begin the interrogation.
Well, we've been trying, but she's taken some kind of substance, some kind of... it's I don't know if she tried to kill herself or what. Now she's just laughing. I think we might have broke her.
Lady Emmanuelette comes over and hits this woman hard in the face with the butt of her pistol. Right, that's us introduced. Now, who do you work for? She slaps her in the face again, and then looks at the three of you. What did she take? What, a pill? Is she dying?
Her life signs are all fine. She has a pulse, she's breathing, she just appears to have lost her mind. It's quite possible she's taken some kind of hallucinogen, though I don't understand why that would make her foam at the mouth. I don't have any medicines on me that are going to be able to purge something like this from her blood. If that's where it is, all we can really do is give her the time she needs to recover, if she can.
Siegfrieda, make a law medicine roll.
Oh, a nice 8. So that's 6 degrees of success.
You come over and you look her over again. Pulse fine, but the eyes are dilating quite rapidly, actually. What was the colour of the foam? Reddish. And now you look in her mouth again and you can see her entire tongue is stained with this red, but it's not blood. She has taken something. And the laughter. Maybe she wasn't trying to kill herself. She might have taken something that stopped her speaking. And it seems to be working. And as you are deducting this, you do see her look at you, and she does have some comprehension behind her eyes. And she laughs, and then again she looks at the clock. But you realise it's now almost 11 o'clock. It's quite a bit of time's passed.
I'll explain to Lady Nacht. Whatever she's taken has prevented her from speaking, so there's no point interrogating her. Her tongue is useless right now. In case you've not noticed, she keeps looking at the time. She's clearly awaiting something. Something is going to happen. The question is what, and how we find out what it is before it happens.
Lady Emmanuelette nods and then looks utterly furious. Oh, by Sigmar, you're right. You... Quick! Start searching everywhere! I want everything found, every drawer open, every paper unveiled. We need to... I agree. I don't like this. I do not like this. We can't just find another cell. We needed everything. We needed more.
Lady Nack, do you recognise the names of the people on those mannequins in this room?
She frowns and she goes and starts looking over the mannequins, and she's joined by Barrack. And she says, "No, I don't understand. Are these disguises? Why does she have disguises?" And then Barrack frowns and looks at you and says, "I don't know any of these names except... Hang on." He looks at the one with the blonde wig and the little uniform. Zelda, why does that sound familiar?"
Heinrich will cough loudly before announcing the name of their roomkeeper.
And as you do, Heinrich, you look down, and yes, it's Zelda. Without her hair, and looking very different, but at the same time, this is your lovely, lovely maid who's been with you, well, serving you food for most of the week. She seems to catch your look and again just laughs.
Heinrich is the last person in the world who has any intellectual business attempting to figure this out. If it's chaos, he can smash it, but otherwise, Siegfried does the medicine, and Kruger does the skullduggery, and Heinrich is entirely out of his element. I imagine that Erica and Heinrich have the same dumbfounded look on their face right now. In fact, I might venture that Erica looks a bit smarter because she figured it out.
Yes, Erica actually seems a little upset, and she's looking at Zelda, and again looking at you, Siegfrieda. Siegfrieda, you begin to now realize why poor Erica was struggling with your commands. Zelda was very, very kind to this dog.
I feel betrayed. On Erica's behalf. It wasn't too unlikely that anyone we could have interacted with could have been her, sure, but betray my dog? No. There are other ways of getting this woman to talk if her tongue's not working.
At this, Lady Manuelek just nods and gestures to you as you see several people now in the room searching everywhere, pulling open cupboards and drawers. Yes, of course. You have full permission. Get it out of her.
Very well. Heinrich Kruger, you may not want to be around for this.
Oh. Alright. I'll begin leaving the room, heading upstairs.
Alternatively, you may wish to be. I mean, it's not for me to say what you can stomach or not.
Regardless of whether or not Heinrich is qualified for such things, it does seem ill-advised to leave Siegfrieda alone and perhaps defenseless. God only knows what can pop out of an agent of chaos, so Heinrich will stick around.
I begin moving away, and then noticing that I'm the only one going, I turn around and I stand by the side of the door, leaning against the wall.
You also briefly notice the outside, Kruger, where there is a scene of absolute carnage. There are a lot of dead people outside. Mostly, it seems, on the other side. You think maybe one or two of your friends fell, but most of them are just quickly getting the bodies together, and it seems undressing a couple of them and checking for something. Ah, purple hand marks.
The purple hand? Huh. Well, it makes sense, I guess. Interesting.
Siegfrieda, what do you do?
I give Kruger as warm a smile as I can for taking my suggestion. He really is someone who, at his core, is quite warm of heart. Far too, I think, innocent in many ways to be around Heinrich and myself. He was all prepared to step away at my suggestion, but no, in the end, loyalty binds us together. So I will go up to this Frau. I just should make something clear while you're cackling away, that when I first started this long, frankly torturous journey involving your purple hands and all of that nonsense, I was very much of the opinion that I should never deal any harm or pain or suffering to anyone, and that you may take pride in the fact that it is you and your people who have persuaded me that sometimes it is necessary. I don't take pride in that. I don't like how I've changed, but I just want to make that clear. I'm not a monster, but if I may appear as one, it's because of the actions you and your friends have taken. So, with that little caveat out the way, I will get my scalpel. Now, I'm not a torturer, I'm a surgeon. But the good news about being a surgeon is I know the parts that really hurt, but will still enable you to write. So, luckily, I always have some ink and a quill, if we can get a parchment from somewhere.
And you are quickly handed an ink and quill and parchment again. You're handed this by Barrack, who also starts looking over some letters that are on the table, although he frowns in confusion as he's looking at them. There are an awful lot of documents. There's also a few other areas to this room. There seems to be a side door. But yes, you're given your parchment. Roll an intuition check, Siegfrieda.
Sure, I get a 20 under 37.
Excellent. You look her in the eyes and get your knife ready to begin, and staring back at you is nothing. She's not scared. She's not intimidated. She doesn't seem to care at all. And then just keeps laughing. You suppose that's not too surprising, but surely that will back down when you begin your doctoring, you think to yourself.
Yes, I'd really rather not. And, there is every possibility that she won't break at all. I have never done this before, basically performing surgery on someone while they're still completely conscious. I have done that, actually, but not in the aim of getting answers out of them. I don't think I'm going to like it. Nevertheless, unless Kruger and Heinrich have an idea about our surroundings. Right now I feel very hurt on Erica's behalf. This bitch betrayed my dog. And so let's see if we can't stop her laughter. Let's see if we can at least get a little bit of fear into her. Fear through pain.
Well, Siegfrieda, here's the question. How far are you going to go? Because when you begin your initial incision, there is no reaction. And then when you go a little further, more laughter. This doesn't make any sense, Siegfrieda. Are you going to keep going? She's not responding how she should be.
The main intent is to sever some nerves, tease them a little before I do it, but then slice them gently with a scalpel. Up her left arm, I'm thinking, in some of the particularly sensitive spots. A lot of people can tolerate surface level pain. Not many people can tolerate nerve damage. If she's fine with that, then I'll call this whole thing off and call it a bad experiment gone wrong.
Then you get to the very nerve, and finally she laughs even louder. And you look at the mess you've made, and then you just do a very cursory little tap of her knee, and it doesn't react. And then you find yourself thinking you know what she's taken. Somehow, she is completely immune to pain right now, immune to comprehension. She's just laughing, and yet somewhere in those eyes there is something staring defiantly at you. But she doesn't scream, and she isn't cooperating. Heinrich, what are you doing? You see Siegfrieda doing her best, but this is very strange. It doesn't seem to be having the effect she wants. And you even notice Lady Emanuel Nacht be like, oh, is there nothing you could do?
Barring divine intervention or a staggering leap of logic on Heinrich's part, I don't think he has the answers here. The closest I could do would be to roll lore undead as an approximation near, like, lore witchcraft. I could make a raw intelligence roll.
Feel free to make a roll.
But which of those two is more appropriate?
Lore undead.
34 under 49 on lore undead.
I mean, this could be some sorcery, but you didn't see her do any sorcery, and earlier she just seemed like a normal person, but you don't think she's undead. Siegfrieda, at this point, due to your earlier rolls, she's taken something that has robbed her of pain. These things do exist, although they're not very good for the long term. They do eventually wear off, and also they have a habit of deeply psychologically damaging the individual, affecting the mind and other things. That's why it doesn't really use that often, except for the most dire circumstances. Whatever she's taken, it has made her immune to pain and speech, and the price seems to be her currently being utterly unaware of anything, really. You could obviously kill her, but no, this isn't going to work. Not yet, anyway. Do you continue regardless, Siegfrieda?
No. All of this is frankly quite dispassionate. I'll wipe the scalpel blade on her clothing, clean it as best I can, I'll sterilise it later. With a tut, I will turn to Lady Nacht. Well, I gave it a shot. I think we're not going to get answers out of her, so let's search this place, rip it down. Sorry, I'm not supposed to be giving commands, am I? I'm just quite aware that I've wasted valuable minutes cutting up this woman's arm.
Lady Emanuel Nacht frowns, but she nods, and she gives you quite an odd look. It almost seems respectful as she says, "No, that was good. That was good. We've just got unlucky. I have heard of this sort of thing before. Can't remember what the herb's name is, but yes, the laughter. She's buying time, but I don't like that. I don't like how you're buying time!" And she just, again, punches this woman in the face, and she just laughs. Kruger, what are you doing? It seems the interrogation's over. Doesn't seem like it went very well. What do? You're here in this place, and there's lots of dead people, and you see the other individuals, some of them you actually recognize now from that tavern where this all began. They're looking around and finding lots of things. Someone seems to have found a gold bar and a lot of money. Someone seems to have found a room where a pigeon just flies out of. And then, of course, you see Barrick looking over some papers.
Yes, that won't do me any good either, unfortunately. I suppose I'll just throw a brief glance at it just to see if there's anything that pops out, but does it?
Well, as you go over, Barrack says, "Can you read?"
I just shake my head. Really should have learned that.
Well, then, let me look over this a moment more. This is confusing. And he looks back. Heinrich, as you're sitting there, stunned, unsure what to do, I'd like you to roll a perception check, please.
Let's say 41, which comes in 3 points below. So no, 0 levels of success, but a success nevertheless.
As you're sitting there, not entirely sure what to do, and you see Siegfrieda doing her best to interrogate this woman, but apparently she's uninterrogatable, at least for now. Again, Lady Emmanuel seems a bit angry, and Barrack seems confused, and even Kruger's looking a little unsure what to do next. You suddenly feel a slight bump from underneath you. Just a little bump.
Oh, I'm pointing a gun at that bump. I am on edge.
You point your gun directly down at the floor and the carpet. And then you hear a very low, "Help!"
Quickly nudging the carpet aside. I don't know how big the carpet is, but finding a corner, I can probably scooch it up so that there's whatever's under here is revealed.
You do, and you reveal another hatch. Directly under the carpet. You've been standing on it the whole time.
We're not going to address how embarrassing that might be. To open it recklessly, or to press my ear to it. I'm going to go listening a bit closer. Can I make out what the sound is?
You do. You put your ear to the ground and you feel a light thump, and someone once again, "Help!"
Well, in that case, I'll open it. I can either rescue someone or unleash a demon pretending to be human. Either way, we're bound to have a good time.
You throw the door open, revealing a stone stairway. Again, it seems to lead into a very small area. And there before you is a young woman. She's dressed in very fine clothes, or at least they once were fine. Now they're covered in mud and blood. She is, for a moment, recoils from the sudden light and looks to you and kind of just staggers forward. "Please help!" And you see, down the stairs as well, there seems to be another person, very dead, covered in blood.
This woman, does she appear in the age bracket of someone who might have gone missing recently and been spoken at a very fancy garden party?
Well, she does seem like a young woman, yes, and she is dressed in noble finery, yes. And she just charges up the door, looks at you, and drops a brick. She had a brick in her hand. That's what she was using to bang on the hatch, and it's covered in blood. And she says, "Oh, I'm sorry, I had to kill him. He was going to kill me." And she gestures to the body down the stairs.
There's plenty of time to discuss that. And Heinrich is attempting to steady this woman. I don't want her to run out the window, or quick movements around a lot of Imperial agents, not the best for anybody, to say nothing of the mess that we've made of a cultist. So just trying to steady her, a hand on each of her arms, I suppose, coming in from the sides. Calm down, Lady Rhea?
Yes! Thank you! Please, you've come to save me, yes? Please, you must take me to my father at once!
Yes, of course. First of all, Siegfrieda, and Siegfrieda has given up on her ministrations at the moment, yes?
Yes, sadly the surgery was unsuccessful.
In that case, I would implore you, perhaps, in any first aid. I don't want to take the risk that there's something off about this woman, or that in her agitated state she might suffer something. An abundance of caution coming out of Heinrich, because you don't want to rescue the damsel only to have her suffer a stroke on the stairwell, or however this works.
Indeed. Siegfrieda, you're about to step over, but there is one small detail. Your surgery wasn't unsuccessful. It was actually very successful. Are you going to leave that to bleed? Or will you quickly try and close it up?
I'll look to Lady Nact, as she is our commander in all this. Do you want her stitched up, or bound, or do you want her to bleed out? Because there's another person down there who's apparently injured, who may actually be worth saving.
Lady Emanuel frowns and says, "Patch it up quickly, but no more than that. I want her to hang, not die here."
In that case, I will call down, "Heinrich, do your best with the patient. I will be with you as soon as I can."
And you'll quickly get to work undoing your excellent surgery. Purely out of interest, Siegfrieda, the damage you did to her arm, will that ever recover?
If it's kept clean, any infection should be staved off, but she probably won't be able to feel anything above the elbow and to the shoulder, and that may affect the digits on the left hand.
Well, then she certainly won't be sword fighting ever again, it seems.
Well, not if she's left-handed, no.
No. Well, then you'll quickly finish her up, and as you do so, again, she doesn't laugh as much, and she does seem to, her eyes do go to this woman who's emerged, but then she just looks back at you. And again, Siegfrieda, there's just nothing there. Absolutely nothing. It's almost a little disquieting.
I will mutter to her, "You are lucky I don't stitch your mouth shut."
And she nods at that. Heinrich, you attend to this woman, but she doesn't seem to be badly hurt, not at all. She's maybe got a little cut on her head, but you actually think the person downstairs, well, they didn't fare so well. Yes, thank you. What a handsome man you are. But please, if you take me to my father, we need to tell him everything very quickly. I think these people are up to something very bad.
Of that, ma'am, you can rest assured. Unfortunately, the decision isn't mine, and I will attempt to summon either Bardak or Lady Emanuel Nacht. So Frieda had it right. We're not in charge here, and I'd prefer not to end up on their bad side.
Lady Emanuel Nacht does come forward and nod at the woman and say, "Lady Erlich Barrack?" And Barrack goes, "Yes, my lady, how long have you been here?" "Oh my goodness, I don't know, a week?" And Barrack looks at you, Heinrich, and also Kruger, and says, "I didn't know this, and that's very disquieting."
Is this something that's known? Has she been missing?
No, she's not been known missing. In fact, the first I heard, some people at the party were saying they hadn't seen her there, but did you just say a week? Yes! Oh my god, I think I've been down here for like 8-9 days! And again, Barrack looks at you. 8-9 days. There seems to be quite an important noblewoman, and it seems like Barrack is informing you that nobody knew she was missing. Not properly, anyway.
Well, these people do seem to be quite adept at using various disguises. Could someone have assumed her identity and used that to get very close to, well, important people?
Oh my goodness! Is father okay? Has something happened? No, my lady, not yet. Maybe, Heinrich. Lady Nacht? Yes, we need to see her father immediately. Let's finish up here. What was this, stuff with these letters? Have a look, my lady. And she looks at these letters, and she frowns, and she quickly hands them over to then you, Siegfried, as you finish up with your quick medicine work. Does this mean anything to you? This is strange. What do you think?
I'm sorry, I was completely distracted stitching this person up. Who said what and what's going on?
Read these letters.
Oh, yes, of course. With my bloody hands, I take the letters.
They are very unusual, Siegfrieda. Of everything that's happening right now, this is the most confusing. These letters do not speak of grand conspiracies, or plots, or murders. They seem to be extremely bad poetry. Love poetry. You quickly make a few deductions based on your intellect of two different handwritings. One person's a dear K, and the other person's my dear Wolf. And this all seems utterly banal to you, except you quickly scan them, and the very last one does say something about, and of course the Graf mustn't know. And the Graf mustn't know? You have no idea what you've got here, Siegfrieda. These seem to be some sort of love letters, and something about the Graf not knowing.
From the Wolf to K, and K is presumably Frau Kiener.
Presumably? You think to yourself, maybe. That's the letter K.
Well, I racking my brain over the various other people we've met. I can't think of any others with a K for an initial, but then again, it could be the Commissioner Wallenstein, in theory. But let's assume it's Frau Kiener, given that she is here and the letters are on her desk. But the wolf... Lady Nacht, do you know anyone who goes by the name the Wolf, as in a champion, a knight, anybody?
Lady Emmanuel frowns. Well, not really. Barrack? Wolf, that could be a nickname for anybody here in Middenheim.
Well, yes.
What about the Sons of Ulrich?
Oh, it could be. But what is this, Lady Nacht? And Lady Nacht goes, well, there's another thing this could be. Wasn't this person some sort of blackmailer? These seem like private letters to me. Maybe it's another part of the mystery. Keep them for now, but I think we've done enough here. We need to get this woman to her father. If I'm right, her father would be... And Barrett goes, yes, Lord Rainer Elric. I think we all need to go and talk to him immediately.
Ah, Lord Elric. Yes, of course, we've encountered him before. He counsels the Graf.
Barrack nods as everyone starts moving out of the area. Lady Emmanuel Nack nods to the three of you. Right, you three. Let's do this now. I'll get some people to take her to a cell. She won't be seeing light anytime soon, but we don't have time to interrogate her. We need to find out what's going on. I do not like the idea that we are missing something here. Maybe her father can give us some answers.
That sounds prudent. Let's do that.
And so the three of you are suddenly rushed outside, where there is a whole carriage waiting for you. You do notice there seems to be quite a lot of attention now on the area. Several armed individuals are stalking you, but when they see the full party, they seem to back off. And you get into your cart and begin moving fast out of the Orc Quarter, heading all the way up to the top of the city. On the way, this woman, Lady Rhea, is thanking the three of you quite profusely. Yes, thank you. 1 minute I was just walking the grounds of the house, and these awful people came, and they hit me on the head, and then I've been in some horrible places, and then I think we came here today, and I remember them saying something about just tonight, something, and then when I heard all the noise, and then the awful one, he was like, time to tie up this loose end, and he came for me, but I've been hiding a brick, and Ulrich helped me. I took him down. That was the right thing to do, wasn't it?
I'm watching her with very narrow eyes, and stroking Erica.
Feel free to roll an intuition check.
Well, I fail it.
Yes, this is an extremely suspicious individual. Who could she be? Is she another cultist? Maybe she's, once again, another traitor, someone who's going to lie to you. You definitely distrust this woman.
Yes, well, we'll have you back to your father soon.
Thank you. And the carriage moves through the night, and you very quickly find yourself in a much different part of the city. After making your way through the crowds, of course, again, they all are gathering for those fireworks. You find yourself outside a very nice estate up in the upper areas, and there's a bit of conversation with some guards, but at this point, Lady Emmanuel Nacht seems to be saying quite loudly who she is and who she works for, and that does seem to get people out of the way. And finally, you meet who you assume is Lord Rainer Erlich. He is a man in his late 60s, balding, stooped. As soon as he sees Rhea, he gasps and she runs forward, and together they have a tearful reunion. And then after that, he calls for some servants to take her away and comes to the pair of you and Lady Emmanuel and Barrack and says, "Before we continue, I am eternally grateful to you. You have saved my daughter. Thank you so much. But I'm afraid we have urgent business to attend to. Firstly, I have to inform the Graf of my weakness, for weak I have been. But before that, you must help me. You said you are the Black Chamber, yes?" "Yes, I am. We are all part of the Black Chamber right now." "Good. You need to help me. We need to go to the Graf immediately and arrest Lord Hoflich at once." What do the three of you do?
Lord Hoflich. Oh, who's that?
Oh, Lord Joachim Hoflich, the Law Lord.
Ah, That makes sense.
Yes, we must arrest him at once. Lady Emmanuel says, Now, why exactly is that? Because they are guilty of treason, sedition, I don't know what else, but perhaps worse. Do you need me to explain?
Well, yes. Not to mention that my friends and I aren't actually ordained militia to go around arresting people, but it would help to know what seditious acts this person has performed.
Oh, very well, I will explain all, but should we get to the carriage? And Lady Knack nods and gestures to the carriage and looks at the three of you and says, You aren't exactly militia, but from this point on, you are all officially members of the Black Chamber, and we are going to get this sorted. So feel free to question as you wish. We don't have time for nonsense here. We need to get to the palace at once, I think. And Barrack nods very firmly. Yes, indeed. Please, Lord Rayner, explain everything. And you find yourself at the carriage once again, this time being apparently ridden to the palace. As you are doing this, Rayner looks to the three of you and nods. Okay, I will explain my best my abilities. 9 days ago, my darling daughter was kidnapped. One moment she was there, the next she wasn't. I was concerned. I was immediately, of course, going to inform the watch. And then who comes into my home than Lord Hoffleck, with this terrible look about him. He informed me that he has taken care of my daughter, and if I don't do as he says, she'll meet a sticky end. I, of course, met this with outrage, but he just shot it down and said that if I did anything or told anybody, my daughter would die. I am ashamed to admit my daughter's... the city, of course, is my main concern, but after that, my daughter is my second, and I have been derelict in duty. I let an old friend, who I thought was an old friend at least, intimidate me. I've been in my home the entire week. I believe I've been watched, and I haven't said a single word. And the worst thing about all this is I believe this is linked to the current tax scheme madness introduced by Hoffleck a few weeks ago. On paper it seemed to have some merit, but when you looked closely, it was nonsensical. It wouldn't make money for the city, and it would anger so many people, and be a breach of the Graf's trust. I, of course, was against it, as was Wasmir, but then I said I would voice my opinion at the end of the festival when we were all gathered, but then this happened. I can only imagine Hoffleck has some interest in this scheme, and clearly it is something detestable or fell. I don't know what, but he's clearly lost his mind to be kidnapping my daughter.
Well, far be it from us to engage ourselves in politics, but this does seem like the kind of thing we promised to solve.
It does. This goes very deep indeed into this city, doesn't it?
It certainly does.
Indeed it does. For one of the law lords to be compromised as such, I can only assume there is some foreign interest, perhaps a rival, or he's simply gone mad. I've known Hoffleck for years, and he seems to have completely lost his mind to do such a thing.
Well, I'll keep to myself, but he wouldn't be the first person to be being manipulated via drugs or some other means, so we won't assume immediately that this person is a cultist, but we should probably have it in the backs of our minds.
Indeed. What are you thinking, Kruger? An awful lot is happening very quickly. You found a lair, you took someone down, and then, well, and now you're here riding to the palace. What does this all mean?
Well, it seems like we've revealed who is behind all this, or who it is that's acting on behalf of the malign forces we have been trying to fight all this time. So we're making progress. It's going very, very quickly. I really hope that Lady Nacht and Barrack will know what to do, because, I mean, certainly we've been deputized, but what are we supposed to do about people this powerful? I mean, we're supposed to arrest them? What?
Well, as you're thinking that, you see Lady Emmanuel nodding and looking to the three of you. Right. I think the way is clear. We're going to head to the palace, we're going to inform the Graf of all this, and you three are going to help me arrest Lord Hoffleck. If you're wondering, can I do that? The answer is, with the Graf's permission, of course I can.
Well, that sounds like a plan.
Heinrich, what are you thinking? All this is happening very quickly and very suddenly, and lots of information is being bombarded at you. What about those letters? What did they mean?
I have confidence in Siegfrieda's reading comprehension, Kruger's sense of not right and wrong, but being able to tell when something is amiss, and a keen appreciation for keeping my head on my shoulders by not irritating the Empire's most powerful agents. Whatever people feel about this rogue law lord, I'm sure he'll explain himself under duress or convert into a demon at the last minute. At this point, I am content to be deputized, pointed in the correct direction, and wielded as an instrument of justice.
Indeed. What of you, Siegfrieda? Fate once again seems to be wheeling the three of you along, but were you expecting this? You've gone from tailing a blackmailer to apparently heading to the Graf's palace to arrest an extremely powerful lord. Apparently, all you need to do is let the Graf know, and she can do that. That does make sense.
No, I've got a serious number of doubts. We've already seen that the Graf is under an influence. That was the thought we came away with when we encountered him at the festival. So this isn't going to be as easy as just walking through the door and asking for the man's arrest. Some force is going to be required, but I'm finding myself increasingly comfortable with that.
Indeed. Kruger, there's one other thing. As your mind drifts a little, you're trying to find clues after all. You think back to the lair. Again, you didn't look around long, but there was that room with pigeons in it, and, you suddenly find yourself remembering there was a drawer, and you opened it, and there were some scalpels in there. Very fine scalpels. And you think to the woman who you've just taken down, and you think about those letters, and Bjorn, and your friends.
Was she the one who did that? Could it have been?
Could it? After all, wasn't that some sort of monster? Something inhuman. And yet, well, did you easily defeat this woman tonight, or did you get lucky?
I think you got very lucky. We were able to genuinely surprise her at the entrance of Lady Nacht and Barrack. If not for them, we wouldn't have stood a chance. So yes, we did get lucky. We did. If she did all this, then she will have to pay. Once she's outlived her purpose, if they don't kill her, then I will.
And so the carriage makes its way through the night, heading quickly towards the palace itself. You've been here before, the three of you, so it's not too new an experience, although now it's night and there are far less people going around drinking champagne and instead lots and lots of guards. You do actually, however, come round a different route. Instead of going through that main gate that you walked through before, it seems there is a secondary gate near the Königsgarten. That seems to be more for carriages like the one you're in. There is some initial talk with guards, but it seems the combined power of Lady Emmanuel Nacht and this lord, who apparently is a lord himself, you seem to be realising, gets you through very quickly. You find yourself exiting the carriage. You find yourselves in the palace. Again, several guards are coming forward, but again, at this point, you hear Lady Emmanuel Nacht is straight out saying, "I am here on my authority as envoy of the Emperor and the Black Chamber. These are my deputies. We need to see the Graf immediately." And it does seem as if the servants are actually obeying you. How are you feeling, Siegfrieda? A different sort of feeling, this. Instead of being stopped by guards, it seems apparently all you need is a nice piece of paper and to work for the Black Chamber, and most of them do start parting ways for you.
Well, I've long thought that the power of paper and having a name written on it carries a little too much weight in this realm, but again, not too surprising.
And in this procession, you begin making your way through the palace. It is a fine palace, fine wooden floors, red tapestries on the walls of the history of Middenheim, lots of wolf heads. You begin going to a stairway. At this point, Lady Emmanuel Nacht turns to a staff member and she begins speaking with them, and they quickly blunder to the three of you. Yes, sorry, what was that? Yes, the Graf's upstairs, and Lord Hofflick, yes, I do believe he just came by in his carriage with Lord Wasmere, that they just got back from the opera 20 minutes ago. Wonderful. Excellent. Right, you free. Head straight to the Graf. I'm going to head with Barrack. We need to catch Hofflick as soon as possible. Can you do this? You need to tell the Graf everything I've told you, and remember to say that you're from the Black Chamber. I'm currently allowing you that privilege. You can do this, yes? We have to split up. I'm very concerned. She does seem very concerned, and in a way, Kruger, you can't blame her. You can't shake off this feeling. The clock, and what that Brunhilde did, it seemed to be stalling for time, but why did she need to stall for time?
You can rely on us. We get along great with the Graf. All right, let's get going. And yes, of course, what I think to myself is, obviously, there's something that's supposed to happen. The time matters. I have a sinking feeling that perhaps this is all... Well, I'm not so sure we're going to get to speak to the Graf. But let's get going. I say to Heinrich and Siegfrieda. We have to hurry.
Indeed. Come on, Erica.
Erica nods and yaps and heads up with you. Heinrich, you begin heading up as well, and a thought does occur to you. Just as you were parking your carriage, there was another carriage outside, actually. You noticed it because it was so big. There was like a giant carriage with 6 horses and quite heavy-duty looking, almost like a full wagon. Looked a little odd, but you didn't think much of it. But now that you hear, apparently... What was that? Apparently Lord Hofflick and Lord Wasmere. Lord Wasmere, you remember him. You actually met him at the party. Apparently they both just arrived back from the opera. Interesting. What good timing.
Good, suspicious, it matters not for Heinrich. We will find a body or we won't, but no sense debating it. Whether we make it there just in time, just too late, it's minutes and seconds at this point, right?
Indeed. The 3 of you head upstairs, and you're directed by a servant down a long hallway. Again, the palace seems to be slowly waking up, and a lot of people are running around and yelling, and there's a lot of confusion. But again, you are not stopped as you get to the doors that apparently lead to the Graf's personal chamber. You do see 2 knights suddenly snap to attention. They look at you, but again, the servant explains the situation, and they frown. They do part their spears to let you pass. What do you do, Heinrich, Kruger, Siegfrieda?
Well, try to straighten up and look representable, and I began opening the door.
A knight pauses briefly to hold a hand up just before you knock on the door, and then he knocks on the door. My lord? My lord? The knights frown when there's no response, and then they open the doors for you, and you see a lovely sitting room. Plush chairs, fine wardrobes, a big map of the Empire on one of the walls, but all the lights are off. What do you do, Kruger? It seems awfully dark in here. Roll a perception check.
That's 73. I'm out of fortune, so I fail.
You look around, confused in the dark, using your torch to shine the way. Siegfrieda, you notice your companion, Erica, sort of starts growling. Heinrich, what do you do?
I'm also looking around, but more important, listening. Sounds of stabbing, sounds of screaming, sounds of footsteps. At this point, if it's this quiet around, then any motion or stirring whatsoever should give the game away.
Feel free to roll a perception check as well, then.
That is a 27 under 44.
You hear movement, and you get your gun ready as you point your gun at whatever it is, and suddenly to the left, the doors to the chamber burst open, and there is a flash of light, perhaps from a bed lantern or something. And there you see a sight that is confusing, because you see Graf Boris Todbringer stumble in, clutching at his neck, as someone from behind him seems to be trying to throttle him, and then you point your gun at them, Heinrich, and it's Graf Boris Todbringer attacking his assailant. And as they both stumble into the room, both of these Grafs look at you in surprise. And the 3 of you clearly need to decide what to do next.
You have listened to an episode of Red Moon Roleplaying, where we play the legendary campaign The Enemy Within for Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay 4th Edition, published by Cubicle 7. In this 3rd part of the series, we are tackling Book 3, Power Behind the Throne. Joining us as players in this series are none other than Aaron Hammonds from Queen's Court Games and our dear friend Matthew Dawkins. The music was made by Flowers for Body Snatchers, Wordclock, Metatron Omega, Ager Sonus, Apocryphus, Halgrath, and Northumbria, featuring a number of collaborations with other artists, and was used with permission from their label Cryochamber. Check out their website at cryochamber.bandcamp.com or their YouTube channel for some moody dark ambient for your gaming table. We'd like to give massive thanks to our champions of the Red Moon, Martin Heuschober, Simon Cooper, David, Julia, Camilla, Bob Lange, Cameron, Antxon, Graham Barey, and Doug Thomson for their generous support. And we would of course also like to thank all of our other patrons. Without your support, the show would not be possible. If you want to support our work, please check us out on Patreon. You can get access to bonus campaigns for Cult Divinity Lost and Coriolis there, as well as get early and raw access to all of our recordings. You can also hear your name read on the show as a champion of the Red Moon, as well as play Cult with us. Most importantly, that support is what keeps the show going, so do check us out there. Thank you again for listening, and remember that Skaven are definitely not real. Except, well, who's gonna believe you? Never mind.